Hi, this is the lesson for Wednesday, October 7th in 11th grade English. So our topic today is A City Upon a Hill, Part 2. We're looking this time at the Quakers. The Quakers are another religious denomination that came over around the same time as the Puritans, and we'll look a little bit about how they interacted with John Winthrop's clan, as well as how they changed that message. I have a poem, some slides, there's your stem, and then we're going to end today with another Common Lit quiz. The quizzes are quick, 10 minutes. Don't let them stack up. I'll show you results from the previous one and then ask you to do this one as well. All right, so let's look at the poem first. I chose it because it's a really lovely ballad. Ballads are 4-line stanzas, quatrains, and they have usually themes of longing or love, and this is very much that, peace and love. And as I read it, I'm trying to teach you the concept of rhyme scheme, which is the way that you assign a letter to the end of every line for the sound that it makes. So here, me is an A, shore is a new sound, so that's B, more rhymes with shore, so that's B, C rhymes with me, so that's A. So the rhyme scheme of this poem is A, B, B, A. Right. Peace. Peace flows into me, as the tide to the pool by the shore. It is mine forevermore. It ebbs not back like the sea. I am the pool of blue that worships the vivid sky. My hopes were heaven high. They are all fulfilled in you. I am the pool of gold where sunset burns and dies. You are my deepening skies. Give me your stars to hold. The Quakers, our topic for today, are about peace. We're going to use that poem to inspire. So for today, our slides begin in late in the presentation, slide 29, I believe. So we've had Pilgrims, 1620, Mayflower, Puritans, 10 years later, Massachusetts Bay Colony, and now Quakers. So we're talking about religious liberty a lot in this unit because it's the thing that pushes so many of these groups out of England to America. The Puritans were not the only ones dissatisfied with the Anglican Church in the 1600s. 1600s is after the English Church had broken completely from Catholicism, formed its own Protestant wing, and that begins to separate into all of these other small sects. So the Puritans become one. They are technically called the Religious Society of Friends, and they're founded in England in the 1640s, decade or so after the Puritans had already left for America. They're commonly called the Quakers because of the Bible verse that told believers to tremble at the word of the Lord, to quake at the word of the Lord. And they first come to the colony in the 1650s primarily as missionaries, not colonists. So what's the difference? I asked that. The difference is simply that missionaries are coming to spread the word of God and to try to convert others, or to at least spread a message that can be received by others. Colonists are going to settle their own sovereign society. So one is religious in its movement, and one is political. You can be both at the same time, and they ended up being that as well. So here's some images of early punitive measures in New England. Unlike the Puritans, they embraced pacifism, no violence, and they preached spiritual equality of all believers. Nobody could punish another because nobody would have that kind of authority over another body. So these images you see are Puritans enacting punishment on people in their colony. But the Quakers would do nothing like this. They rejected these images. Equality being key and foremost on their agenda. They did not have any sort of religious hierarchy as they came over to the colonies. They never did in their inception in England. They believed there was a presence of God in all people, and everybody is truly created equal. So make a connection. If they believed in the presence of God in all people, and believed in that kind of true democracy of spirit, then what would they oppose? Slavery. Slavery is going to begin in America in 1619, and it's the topic that we take up tomorrow. They're going to oppose slavery and all forms of slavery, indentured servitude, the ways that anybody might claim that another person was lesser than them, servitude. All of these things are anathema, opposite to the Quaker message of equality in God's eyes. And I'll show you some images to make that point really come to life in a modern way. I think there's a tendency for us to think of all these people as so distant they don't even matter. But Quakers are still here. And Puritans, Protestants, that still characterizes our world. So a lot of us have been brought up in these faiths and live our lives according to the celebrations of these faiths. I'm going to show you an image of me doing that exact thing. Here I am at my wedding. I'm Catholic, not Protestant, which is the Puritan sect that we're talking about, but the Catholic Church is also really based on hierarchy and having a system of authority. And at my wedding, there on the left, I was married in a Catholic church. The priest is the authority figure. The priest is the authority figure who is vested in this way. Literally, he's got a vest to marry us. Now, technically in the sacrament, we marry each other and the priest is the witness. But in the Catholic Church, it doesn't count unless a priest is there to sanctify the sacrament. So the presence of the priest is really important to that concept of this Christianity. And now on the right, also Christianity. But this is a Quaker ceremony. And if you notice, there is no priest. In the Quaker society, it is a true gathering of equals. Everyone in the community is there to witness these two individuals gathering to marry each other. No one need do it for them. They are the ones who marry each other. There is no authority there. And I brought this to y'all because I've been to a Quaker wedding, and it was beautiful. My friends, Tom and Betsy, were married at a Quaker ceremony, and we gathered in a circle as a community, truly equal, a circle being equal. Nobody was at the front. Nobody was in the very first pew. There was no order of guests, the bride's father being the most important, all of that. We were all invited to sit wherever we wanted. And then when they were ready, the couple came out to marry themselves in front of everybody. And we all witnessed it and all signed our names to the document attesting to the fact that we had seen all of this happen. It was a truly an equal ceremony for all of the people involved. So Quakerism, or the Society of Friends, is going to emphasize that in their teachings from the early days in America. But it's still here today. It's as important as it ever was. Eventually, they fought for the abolition of slavery that matches all of this thinking because they believed the demands of a person's conscience to be above the dictates of human authority. Nobody should answer to anybody else on this planet. Your conscience should guide you and be your authority. Here are some beliefs. No hierarchy. Nobody is any closer to God. All people are naturally good and can navigate their own relationship with God. Everyone can take part of the kingdom. So that is not the same as the Puritans. The Quakers came as missionaries, not colonists. And when they arrived in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, remember that's the Puritans, they were treated awfully and at one point even executed. The Puritans were threatened by this message of the Quakers. Now why? So in class I asked this question. We called back upon the City on a Hill that we read yesterday, where Winthrop writes, "We shall be as a city on a hill. All eyes are upon us. We are the finest, the greatest example the world has ever seen. And we must get this right, or everyone after will judge us." He really believed that they were going to be this pinnacle example, set above others, physically above others on a hill, and figuratively above others in conscience, religious deeds. And so authority was very important to Winthrop. He himself was their governor, believed very much in leadership. So this message of freedom and peace among all people who are all created equal is contrary to the message of the Puritans, where they are a select few reserved for the special judgment of God, and they above everybody else will receive that special treatment. So the Quakers versus the Puritans, there is a dissonance there. And here are some of the sentences the Puritans enacted on the Quakers for coming into their territory. They called them heretics, people who don't agree with them in religious spirit. And heretics has an even stronger connotation to mean the people who are wrong about their religion. They called Quakers coming into this jurisdiction as trespassers, and decreed that anyone arriving in the Puritan colony should immediately have one of his ears cut off. For another offense, the other ear cut off. Every Quaker woman, for existing, should be severely whipped. For a third offense, the tongue was to be pierced with a hot iron. And then, as I started off by saying, they were killed in several cases in Boston, in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So, violence between the groups. Rightfully, the Quakers wanted to leave because they were not welcome in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Some more punishments. Back to this slide, the thing that I didn't say before is that the people being punished in these images are Quakers. So we have the Puritans, the holy city on a hill people, the ones here brandishing the whip on the Quakers. So really antagonistic towards this group of people. So William Penn in 1681, about 30 years after they arrived, got a huge land grant from the king so that he could get his own land and settle peacefully with his people. That land became known as Pennsylvania. So it translates to the beautiful woods, the land that the people could live in, that William Penn acquired. He bought the land from the natives. They were friendly with the native peoples, but of course, as we've already talked about, just the presence of these new European settlers could be pretty devastating for the Indians. All the same, it was a more peaceful place than the New England colony. They established this religious freedom in a true way for all believers and equal participation in civic life, even for non-Quakers, so that religious tolerance extended not just to their own members, but beyond. And here's the document that shows that thinking. No person believing in one God shall be molested on account of his religious persuasion, because nobody can be really happy, though even if they have the finest things in the land and liberties, if they're denied the freedom of their conscience. And so I do hereby grant and declare that no people inhabiting this province or territories shall in any case be bothered or prejudiced against, or be forced to frequent or maintain any worship contrary to their mind. So the original charter here that inspires a lot of what we'll see later in American founding documents. Everyone has the right to believe what they need to believe and want to believe. We will not force them to believe anything, especially when it comes to a matter of conscience. So all of this means religious liberty. So lastly, just some final thoughts. The Puritans sought liberty for themselves, but they refused it to others. They established dominance in New England, but this other seed is being planted in Pennsylvania that will become important for us to watch. So America, from its very beginnings, is this land of religious liberty and persecution, violence and peace. And starting tomorrow, we'll look at freedom and slavery. We'll move into slavery more decisively. Your STEM for today is about peace. The Quakers brought a peaceful message to New England. Before, after, if. With the if statement, imagine what might that mean for the future of America. And then lastly, you have a quiz today. You can log into Common Lit, take it there, or you can use the links here to do it. It's on the Puritans, and any of the background knowledge you have now will help you. And take your time. The last quiz result was a little lower than our first one, 86% versus 80%. So slow yourself down and see how you do. And remember, these replace tests in our class. So they're definitely good to do. Thanks so much.